This man is considered to be the best basketball player of all time, and I agree. But I have a question for you. How much of his success is due to his physical gifts? This man is considered to be the best baseball player of all time, but how much of his success is due to his physical gifts? Do you want to step up your game? Will you ever be able to do this? Copy this? No? Then let's focus on the mental game. But who can teach us the mental game? Him? Maybe. But I think we can do better. Let's take athleticism out of the equation. This is the art of competition. Dave, hello.
Hey, how you doing, Travis?
Good. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much.
Okay, so I've been watching your stuff for a while now, and there's always been stuff I've wanted to ask you. So thanks for joining me today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. I'm glad somebody knows who I am and remembers me. I'm not so big on social media like these younger guys.
Why is that? You're one of the best shooters of all time.
That's why I'm one of the best shooters of all time. I don't spend all my time videotaping. I spend my time shooting the ball.
Oh, fair enough. Do you want to tell our audience a little bit about yourself, what you do, and perhaps some of your accomplishments?
I coached in the NBA for a number of years. First started out as a consultant with the Seattle Supersonics, and then I went to the Toronto Raptors. After the Raptors, I went to the Washington Wizards, the New York Knicks, and the last team I was with was the Detroit Pistons. But I've been teaching the art of shooting for over 37 years now on all different levels. And some of the great players I've worked with, Hall of Famers, Vince Carter, Kobe Bryant, Ray Allen, Jason Kidd, Carmelo will soon be a Hall of Famer, Chris Bosh is another, and so forth. So I've been working with players on all different levels, for many years now.
It's awesome, man. Well, this podcast is actually going to focus heavily on your mental approach and your psyche. But first, I'd like to power through some questions about shooting mechanics, because I'm sure our audience wants to see that, as do I. I'll skip kind of the basic questions that are already all over YouTube that you've covered before, and try to get to something that's maybe not out there yet, that you haven't put out yet. So the first one is just simply, are you a middle finger shooter, an index shooter, or both?
Both fingers. These two fingers, my index finger, middle finger, they control the basketball. I mean, you can't control the ball with one finger. I actually do some shooting demonstrations where I take my ring finger and pinky and put it underneath the basketball and just shoot with these two. And then the thumb just balances the basketball. These two fingers are like a gun barrel. If they're straight, the ball's going to be straight, providing your hands in the center of the basketball. So if we can keep everything straight with these two fingers, then the ball's going to be straight, providing our hands in the center of the ball. If our hands on the side of the ball, then that affects the direction the ball's going to go.
Of course. Coaches say shoot the same way every time. I mean, we've all heard that a million times.
Right.
But if I shoot a 5-footer the same way I shoot a half-court shot, somebody in the bleachers is going to get a black eye. So can you tell us what changes from different ranges?
Well, I know for a fact, myself, when I go out to shoot outside of my range, I revert back to like a little kid. I'm like shooting a ball from my hip and so forth. What they mean by a repeatable shot is when you're shooting your normal shot, it should be the same every time. But there's always, things that happen. You might have to rush the shot, could be the end of a shot clock and so forth, heavily contested. Maybe a defender's right on you. You got to shoot the ball with higher arc and everything. But a repeatable shot is what you want to try to get. There's no such thing as the perfect shot. Otherwise, you'd never miss. But you want to try to shoot the ball the same way every time, providing you have your balance, your elbow positioning, and your follow through. And it amazes me, everyone's like, oh, this guy's got great form. And, he's dropping his left hand, his right hand's way over here. I'm like, no, perfect form is both two hands up, two hands down. They got all these guys, they drop, they're freezing, they're posing, and their hands going that way. And I'm like, I don't even know what good form is when I watch some of these people now. It's like ridiculous how bad it is.
I've heard you say, like, you were lecturing and you said, like, as I move back, I add more power from my legs.
Right.
So that's one thing that changes, right?
Right. The legs give you lift. You have bigger and stronger muscles in your legs, and you want to use them.
So you're jumping higher, or you're jumping faster?
Just bending a little bit more. Getting a little bit more power into it. I need to get the lift and so forth, and you don't want to be like jumping any higher. You want to try to maintain. And at my age, my jump isn't very high. I just told my wife, I'm not elevating like I used to. And she goes, you're 65. You should be elevating at all.
Okay, so what about then when you get closer to the basket, you need to take power off? Like if you're pretty close, you can't even jump. It's just too much power. So where are you taking power away from?
Well, you just, like I said, you get yourself, shot ready. Like I want to have my knees bent, right? And a lot of players, they don't even bend their knees. So now you're just shooting with your upper body and everything. So, and it's a feel thing, so you have to practice. And you have to work at shooting from different ranges and so forth. And unfortunately now, everyone's saying, oh, you got to, shoot the three. So the mid range suffers because people don't practice the mid range anymore. So, one of the problems is, like I said, they don't put enough time in shooting shots from different distances because it's the three ball craze, So when they shoot the two, and a lot of times, like I said, you have an open shot, you might not be jumping as high as when now you're being contested because now you've got to elevate over the defender and so forth. So it's all, situational, and also, you have to work at it. People don't realize, and I tell people, if you can't shoot in close, you're not going to be a good shooter from distance and everything. So it's like I said, you got to continue working on, shooting the ball. It's like golf, you have to, you have so many different clubs and you have so many different variables in golf.
That's true.
You could be in a sand trap, you could be in high grass or something. So your stroke would be different. It's the same thing with basketball. If I'm in close, like shooting a floater, like, a lot of times you don't follow through, you just push it, you're not getting a rotation and everything. But you have to work on these things endlessly and figure it out on your own, what works for you and what doesn't. Like, like people understand, like Kyrie Irving, he spends like 10 to 15 minutes every day in the gym working on, like, it's almost like a Mikan drill, but it's a Kyrie Mikan drill. He goes up the same foot, he's spinning the ball with reverse spin on it. But he works on it, and you have to figure out where the ball hits. If I'm here, I need it to hit a certain part of the backboard with the reverse English and so forth. And what a lot of kids don't understand, they go out and try it, but they've never worked on it, And Kyrie spends, 10 to 15, 20 minutes a day working on just, wrong foot finish, same hand, same foot, and so forth. And it's just like, with your shot, you have to figure out and get to feel on your own with it. It's not something like it's a, cookie cutter, like it's got to be done this way and so forth. Well, like a lot of guys with the floater, some like a 1 foot floater, a 2 foot floater.
I just feel like if you're taking power away, it should be like maybe only one thing though, because like if you're trying to take away, okay, I'm going to follow through a little less, I'm going to bend my legs. There's so many things to think about. Whereas if I just only float it. Now it's a little bit simpler.
Right. Well, that's the thing, like one of my big things is like, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. But the thing is, once it comes back to you have to go in and do it. You have to go in and you have to shoot the ball and you have to figure it out. I mean, it's like different for every person. But like I said, people don't put enough time in to figure things out. Like I said, everyone goes out and fires up threes. So nobody works on their mid-range game anymore. So now when they shoot a mid-range, they don't know what the hell they have to do. They're still shooting it with the same, power that they would from, 25 feet as opposed to 15.
Okay. May not be the answer I wanted, but it's probably the answer I needed to hear, Well, in every sport, coaches also say to follow through. And we've all heard that a million times. What's so
Right.
important about following through?
I'm always big on it. Like I tell people, freeze your finish, freeze your follow through. Follow through gives us feedback. I want to know why the ball goes in or it doesn't go in. Now I can go out and shoot and make shots by dropping my hands like I'm touching a hot stove. But now when I miss, why did I miss? I didn't miss because I didn't follow through. Because I just showed you I could make shots doing that. But now, okay, I use like a miss as feedback. Like I said, if it's long or short, I want to know why it's long or short. If it's off left or right, I want to know why it's off left or right. But if I freeze, if I drop my hands, I have no idea why those things happen. Now, I shoot, the ball hit the left side of the rim. Okay, here's my finish. I drop my hands, I drop my left hand. Where's my body twisted? Towards the left. And I'm probably going to be short because I have one power going towards the basket. What am I doing by the other side of the basket? I'm pulling so I have a power struggle. Or the other thing that happens when somebody drops their left hand, I call it the balance hand, not a guide hand. A lot of guys call it a guide hand. And I ask them, what's it do? Guides the ball in the hoop. I said, well, then you should never miss. You should call it a misguide hand because you don't make many of them. So now when I drop my balance hand, right? Now everything's going towards my left. So what happens? You're going to go to the left where they try to correct it and they finish this way.
Yeah.
Now you have
You
more
see
motion.
that.
Yes, you see it all the time. I got still videos of all these guys. Guys are this way here. The basket's where my chest is, and you got guys looking like this.
Steph Curry does that all the time.
Steph does it a lot.
He made a small adjustment. Yeah.
Yep. It drops it. Like I said, so I want to, follow you. So now if I'm short, right? If I'm short and I'm here, the reason why I'm going to be short is my elbow's below my eyebrow. Now, if my elbow's above my eyebrow, why am I short? I didn't get enough leg into it.
Right.
I didn't get the legs for the lift. So
makes
the
sense.
follow through gives me feedback. And then once again, okay, I shoot, I miss to the right. Why did I miss to the right? Well, your hands, you're like I said, the two fingers are going to the right. If my hands are in the center of the basketball, the grip,
it's a great explanation of. I was going to ask you about feedback. I'm like, that's a great explanation, I think. I often say, like, you can make a shot with poor follow through.
Yes,
but
you can.
You cannot miss a shot with perfect follow through unless there's not enough legs in it, like you said.
Right. So, like I said, it gives you feedback, and especially now, like with the use of video is so important. And now, I mean, all the, with the science, I mean, they have like Coach's Eye, you can draw, like I could send you, if you sent me video on you, I could send you and I can draw where your elbow should be, it's low, elbow should be above the eyebrow, hand in the hoop and so forth. So it's, very valuable. And even like, where your feet pointing and everything, it's just, and you can slow it down to a still frame with the video now, which is great because sometimes you capture things more with a still photo than on the video because the video is too fast.
When I go and practice, there's just a million thoughts running through my head. Like I feel like I'm concentrating pretty well, but the conscious mind can only think about one thing at a time.
One thought at a time, yes.
What occupies your conscious mind as you're practicing alone in the gym?
When I'm in the gym by myself, completely different when I'm lecturing. When I'm lecturing, I'm thinking of my story. So I'm really not even thinking about shooting the basket. Because I have to go, what's my next line? Like if I'm telling a story about when I was, on junior varsity and, I got cut and I was on JV, I'm thinking of my storyline during that. When I'm in the gym on my own, I'm like, thinking of my numbers, because I track everything. I've been tracking all my shots since the time I was 16. But if I shoot and I'm short, I actually say to myself, I have like catchphrases, elbow above eyebrow. Because at my age, I know like sometimes it's almost like a shoulder impingement. Like sometimes I shoot and my elbow's not above my eyebrow for some reason. I guess, my arm, I've been doing it for so long. And then, like, I'll say to myself, and I actually say elbow above eyebrow. I'll say it out loud. So, like, I tell people, like, even when I train players, I said, I want you to say this. Because, like you said, one thought is all the mind can think. So if I'm saying like elbow above eyebrow, you could be saying this guy's a jerk, man. I don't know what he's, But now if you say it, first of all, you have to think it, then you have to say it, then you hear it, and you're more likely to do it. So you're being reinforced 4 times. Whereas if I'm just saying Travis elbow above eyebrow, you can be saying, I'm tired of hearing this clown. But now if you're saying it, it becomes your key words, your key phrase for you to when you shoot the basketball. Some people might be, freeze finish, hold hands high because they drop the left hand and so forth. So a lot of times I'll do that in the gym by myself. I'll just say, up, to get the ball up in the air or whatever. It could be one word or it could be several.
Will you say that after you noticed your previous shot was slightly?
Yes, from the feedback from my follow through. And I actually, shot. When I'm shooting by myself, if I'm not shooting on the gun, the thing that passes you the basketball. Yeah. If I'm shooting by myself, like doing spin outs, I actually I shoot and stay. Because I want to shoot and stay, and I freeze my follow through till the ball hits the floor. So I'm really overemphasizing my follow through and holding my hands high, because a lot of people shoot, they drop their hands and the ball hasn't even gotten to the rim yet. So if I'm practicing and I drop my hands quickly, in a game I'm going to drop them even more quickly because things happen or sped up in games. It's called game slippage. So I freeze my finish till the ball hits the floor. I'm overemphasizing.
Is spin outs? Does that just shooting by yourself?
Yeah, I'll spin out straight on. I might do a shot fake, one dribble going left to right and so forth, simulating where I would shoot in situations. You could start in a corner and come up to the wing, simulating that you're having a screen or whatever and so forth.
I'd be worried at your skill level. If I was shooting by myself, I would be shooting flat so the ball hits the back rim and comes back to me.
Yeah, right.
So you'd have to chase it down if you swish it,
Yeah, that's it. We used to say when I was with the Wizards, we had a guy, he shot the ball really flat. And we used to say, whoever was working with him, you're getting your cardio in, because he shot the ball so flat. So the ball was always a long rebound. So,
I often think I focus too much on mechanics and I'm overthinking it. And I should just let my body intuitively make the adjustments. Do you think that's right? Should I actively be thinking about mechanics while shooting or after a miss?
I wouldn't be thinking about it while I'm shooting. I would just try to use it when you do miss. Okay, where did it hit, and then then analyze it, not during the shot.
Okay.
We used to have a saying. Well, we still have it. If you're thinking, you're stinking. It's got to be. But it takes so long, so many reps and so much time for you to, get to that stage and so forth. And that's what happens. A lot of guys, they become too robotic, because they're thinking of everything, elbow in. And it's now all of a sudden it's up. It's just like a whole, it looks almost painful, like they're struggling to get the ball there. I was just working with a girl this past week when I was up north, and she was real robotic. Her knees were locked and she was just upright, and then she had 5 hitches in her shot and so forth. And it was you got to be just let it flow, you're thinking about every step A, B, C and so forth. And the thing about shooting is I tell people, if you want to get better, it takes a lot of work, a lot of discipline. And I always use, Lonzo Ball, for example. I mean, when he first came in the league, he was way over here with the ball. Man, unfortunately, he got hurt. And I tell people he'll come back, he'll be even a better shooter, because when you have the knee injuries, all you can do is form shooting. You can't do, you can't be doing all else. So I'm expecting him to come back. And before he got hurt, he was one of the best three-point shooters in the league. And he changed his shot when he's in the NBA for a number of years. So it can be done, but change is tough.
He must be a hard worker then.
Yeah. So,
well, as I was saying about, I think I overthink it. I should be just more intuitive and just focus on concentration more instead of all these mechanical things. Are you
right?
Are you familiar with Tom Amberry? And I'm sure you are. Tom Amberry,
those
guys.
Tom, yeah. Dr. Tom. At my camp out in California. Yeah. That is the name from the past.
And this is what led me to believe I'm overthinking it, because I look at his mechanics and I'm like, they're not good.
No, but it's a repetitive shot. It's the same shot over and over, and it's like, like I said, Dr. Tom's shooting, a free throw, same distance in every gym, just the hoop's the same height, and his shot, was repetitive. It's the same thing every time. It wasn't like, it wasn't like perfect form, but like I said, nobody has perfect form, but that was his shot and it worked for him. And he actually switched over. He was like right-handed and switched over to left-handed and so forth. So,
well, that's what leads me to believe I'm overthinking it. And if he can do it with that form, why am I focusing so much on form,
Right.
Are you familiar with the other guys? The big names I was searching were Ted St. Martin and
yeah.
And
He used
Bob
to work
Fisher.
For Yep, Bob Fisher. He's got all these devices. He shoots it off of almost like a ball rack and everything. I actually met Bob, several years ago and so forth. So, and Ted St. Martin used to do all the halftime shows. Another one, like Ted didn't have great form on the shot, but it was a repeatable shot. It's like watching the guys on like the Papa shots. I mean, they're going two hands.
Yeah.
With the ball, they're just going, but it's a repeatable shot. And like I said, it's the same distance. You're not shooting a jump shot, so you don't need any more force and so forth. Shooting a free throw as opposed to shooting a jump shot and everything. And if you minimize motion, you eliminate motion, you increase accuracy.
Yeah, I noticed they all have that shot put where it's right here at the chin. Just
yeah.
That's it's much simpler with one motion instead of two,
Right.
But one thing where I'm going with this is one thing I noticed they all had in common is they all have these I hope it doesn't sound insulting. I don't mean it to be just an observation, but they all have these very like stoic, robotic, like hypnotized in their interviews and stuff. They were very like emotionless and like that. I was like,
yeah.
It's like, I think maybe that's something it might take to make 5,000 free throws in a row,
Right. I guess, laser-like focus. Like I know when I first started, falling in love with the game of basketball in the 8th grade, and by the time I got to high school, my mother said that I was narrow-minded because all you do is think about basketball. And I said, Mom, you got it wrong. I'm very focused. And people that don't have that focus or that love or passion about something never understand that. But like I said, I haven't seen any interviews, with Dr. Tom or Ted St. Martin, those guys. So I don't know, what they're like. I hopefully people say I have a great personality, so I hope I'm like
You're
like
not,
that.
You don't have that emotionless.
Well, I'm glad because I'm a very emotional person. I'm sure my wife and daughter would attest to that. And when I go off on them, so.
How do you? Well, for like 6 years now, I've had terrible follow through. I've worked not super hard, but I mean, I'm playing. I work on. I focus. Like whenever I practice, that's the one thing I try to fix is my shorthanded follow through. How does one get rid of a deeply ingrained bad habit like that?
Okay, now do you have a routine when you go into the gym? When you go in by yourself, what do you do?
Put on my pants one leg at a time and lace up my shoes and
let it fly, right?
Yeah.
Now, see, what a lot of people don't understand, I tell people this, and I don't shoot the ball every day, but every day that I shoot, I do my form shooting. And I start 2 feet in front of the basket, right in front of the rim or to the side rim. You have to do everything correctly to make that shot from 2 feet away.
I do what you do. I start in close and I do the one-handed form. Yeah.
My elbow has to go above my eyebrow.
That is my routine, actually. Yeah, I do have that routine.
Now, if I start 2 feet and 6 inches, I can start shooting flat. But from 2 feet, everything has to be up. And then you just have to continue, and I'm talking about not 2 shots from 2 feet, do 25 makes or something and back it up 25 make, it's like, but like people Form shooting is the easiest drill in the world to do. It's also the easiest drill in the world not to do.
I like
And
it.
I go in, and so do I. I want to see the ball go in. And I'll use an example. This was going back when Derek Fisher was playing for the Lakers. We were working out at Loyola Marymount. And as you know, traffic can be a bear in Los Angeles. And we only had the gym for an hour because the women's volleyball was coming in. And Derek Fisher's, late. He's like, I left early. But, you could leave 2 hours early and be late, out there. And he's like, I'm like, so, well, D Fish, whenever you get here, we got to just go right. We're going to go right into the workout. So we only had like 40 minutes. We didn't do any form shooting, right? He had like one of the worst workouts that I ever had with him. He's like, we were tested. He goes, we didn't do the form shooting. So you see the basketball go in. That's number one. That's huge, you have confidence when you see the ball go in. And nowadays it's like I go into gyms and like I see kids, they just run out and they fire threes up. And there's a kid here in Naples, Florida, who does his form shooting, and he's like every high school wants him. He's in the 8th grade, and I've been working with him, and he's actually like disciplined himself. He had 925 makes in a row from 2 feet away. He was all pissed off because he won 1,000. This kid's in the 8th grade, and I go watch him play AAU ball. Every kid's firing threes. He's over 2 feet on the side basket doing his form shooting. Guess who the best 3-point shooter in the whole area, Collier County, is? The kid that does the form shooting. And it's like people don't get it. Even Steve Kerr said, you have to be a great shooter from 2 feet before you can be a great shooter from 25 feet. But everyone doesn't understand that because they just think, well, I'll just do this. And it takes a lot of discipline to get in the gym and do things the right way.
That's probably where I'm going wrong. I'm trying to get to 90% free throws right now. And I'm doing that close-up form shooting, but probably not enough. Like I should probably get to 90% from 2 feet first.
Right. Well, I have a little drill that I do. Try this the next time you go in the gym, Travis, right? Okay. So if, you get in, so use these as your spots, right? So if the blocks, the 2 blocks, if you came in, that's going to be about 2 feet in front, right? You got to make 10 of them in a row, okay? Then you go to the first hash mark on the free throw line, which you got to make 8, then 6, then 4, and then 2 from the free throw line. It's 30 shots in a row. See if you can do that. So it's 10, 8, 6, 4, 2. So it ends up being 30 shots. But you got to make 10 in a row before you go to the 8. You can't make 9, and if you miss, you got to stay there and see if you can do, get 30 in a row.
Build your confidence gradually.
Right, exactly. So.
Okay. I don't know. This one is, you often see people changing their set points, the eyebrow, the hairline, the chin. What are your thoughts on that quickly?
Well, like I said, if you can shoot the ball the same way, you're going to have more consistency. I always like to tell people, I want to, like, the elbow keeps the basketball straight. I want to catch in an L, so I want to show the palm to the passer. So if I do that, my wrist is already cocked and locked. My wrist is ringing. So I'm catching in an L, and I'm lifting the L. So I'm catching, like, the ball, like, middle of my chest, and then just catching and lifting, right? Now, sometimes, like I said, I'll like it, if I have a really good passer, I want that pass right here. But most of the time, you got to generate, once again, the power. Like, I can't shoot a 3 catching it from here. I need my legs. I want to catch it here because when I 1-2 step into it, like I'm stepping left to right, so I make the catch, and as I bring my right foot into the shot, I'm lifting the basketball, and that's where I'm getting my power from, is my legs. Now, when I'm from 15, I can catch it all night long from here and get it, but I can't do that from the 3 because I don't have enough strength and at my age, so I need my legs into it. Now it's going back to your question, like a while ago, about when do you getting legs? What do you take away from it, and so forth.
When I've watched these videos of you shooting, and you almost never miss a shot. So when you do miss a shot, what is the reason? It seems like you're autopiloting. You're talking.
It's a bad pass. It was a bad pass. No.
It seems like you're autopiloting, you're lecturing, but you're not missing. Then finally you miss one. Did muscle memory fail? Was it obviously it was a mechanical error, but what was the source of that mechanical error?
Usually when I miss long, and like I don't know if you're familiar with Noah's Arc. It's a shooting device that measures your arc when you shoot the ball, right? So when Noah's Arc first came out, it was a big thing, and all it did was call out the arc of your shot. They say 45 is like the perfect arc for a player. Now I'm at 43.8, but I'm consistently at 43.8. So when they first made this device,
it's an app, isn't it?
well, it is an app now too, but this is going when it first started, right? Everything is like downsized now.
Okay.
So when I first started it this year, and then I said, well, I could shoot with a 45-degree arc and hit the front or the back of the rim. I'm still not going to make the shot. I have great arc. Guys got great arc. Terrible shooter, great arc, right? So then when at the Final Four, they had it, and they would get people to take 25 shots. I would take 25 shots. My line would be one solid line. Chris Mullen, one solid line. They'd get other shooters. They took 25 shots. There's 25 lines.
Yeah.
45, 42, 37, 30. So then it got to the point where now it tells you the depth of your shot. Like when Steph Curry works out, he doesn't count a shot unless he's 45-11. It's got to be 45 degrees and 11 inches deep because the rim's 18. Now, he could swish it at 45-9. He doesn't count.
Is this on a free throw or what?
This is on all of his shots.
Wait, I thought you were talking about the degree, the angle.
That's it, 45-9. 45 degrees not in the air and has to go 11 inches deep.
Really? I've learned that the degree changes from different depths.
But he wants it consistent on all of his shots.
Okay.
Same thing. If all of a sudden I'm shooting with a different thing, once again, and like I said, the higher you shoot with arc, the bigger the basket becomes.
Yeah.
But he wants everything to be 45-11 when he works out, not 45-9. And it still could be a swish. Now, to go back to me, like when I miss because, number one, I'm usually my shot becomes flat because my elbow's not above my eyebrow. And I know right away, like I said, with my shoulder, something, as soon as I shoot it, I know that ball's not going in because it's shoulder impingement, whatever, it's not getting up in the air. And so when I shoot on Noah's Arc, my misses are long left. I refuse to miss short.
Okay, so I understand that the mechanical side of that answer is, my angle was flat. Why do you think I know how to, is it like, why, what is the source of it being flat? Like mentally?
It's not mental. Like I said, sometimes it's my physical. Like I said, it's not. It's like a shoulder impingement. Like they said, that's what Markel Fultz had. Like it's my body just can't do it.
Okay.
Like it's it's just like I said, just it's just not. I can't get there every time. I mean, I get acupuncture. I'm surprised I haven't had to get surgery yet. With all the times I've shot the ball, but and that's and then like I said, the other thing, like I tell people, like, when I analyze your shot and everything, people get offended when you say, well, you need to do this. I said, I got three things I don't like about my shot.
Do you?
I said, I'd like to have higher arc on my shot. I said, at times I follow the flight of the basketball, and other times I drop my hands too quickly. I said, so the thing is, like, what kids don't understand, first of all, they don't do honest self-evaluation. And then when somebody else critiques them, it's like, oh my God. But like I said, this is me. I said, so when I first went to camp, I tell people, I saw George Lehman, Hank Slider, and Herb McGee shooting. They all did the same exact thing, and they made shot after shot after shot. And then I said to myself, and this is before, the internet here, the videos, there should be no ugly jump shots in this day and age with everything available. You can take your shot and compare it to J.J. Redick, Sue Bird, El Nadeladone, Ray Allen, Klay Thompson. You can videotape yourself and see what you look like. Do you look and like I had to do everything from memory. And I used to say, are my feet shoulder width apart? No. Are my knees over top of my feet? No. Is my elbow underneath the ball? No. Is my shooting hand center ball? No. Do I keep my balance hand on the side? No. Do I freeze my follow through? No. I didn't like check one box. And I went back and I just did my form shooting over and over and over again. It's like a baby. You got to crawl before you walk, walk before they run. But everyone now, they just run out to the 3-point line. Thank God there's not a 4-point line yet. Yet, I said. That'll be the next thing.
All right. Moving on from mechanics to the more of the white meat of this podcast. One of the biggest mistakes I've made in my life is choosing to spend a lot of my time training in basketball when I think I should have invested my time in a sport or a game where I wasn't at a big disadvantage. After all, it wasn't necessarily basketball I loved. It was competing that I loved. And you know, it's crazy that oftentimes our success boils down to one decision we made when we were 14. What would you say to a kid who was undersized but wants to play a sport which being undersized would put him at a disadvantage?
Well, I think, when you're undersized, you have to be mentally tough, because everyone's going to tell you can't do something. You're too small. You're too slow. You're this and that. And I think, when you're small, you have to be, like I said, mentally tough, not believing what other people tell you. And I think that's the problem, especially now, more so in this generation and in the past. Like when somebody told me I couldn't do something, I was going to prove that person wrong. I wasn't going to quit. Now I think kids quit too easily. And you look at, a lot of, success stories of people that were too small and everything. Like now I'm rooting for the quarterback at Georgia. I mean, he's had some journeys, 5'11", the guy, his stories, pretty incredible. But, you look at Steph Curry. I mean, he's dominating a league of, if you were to say is Steph Curry athletic? Yes, to the average human being. Is he an incredible athlete in the NBA? No.
Not at all.
And he's small. And his scouting report was he a 1 or a 2? Will never be able to get his shot off, this and that. And you look at Tom Brady, another one. Look at where he was drafted. And like I tell people, if Drew Bledsoe never got hurt, we might never have heard of Tom Brady because he was on the bench. He was behind Drew Bledsoe. But you look at these guys, where they were drafted and what the scouting reports said about them and how did they succeed? They outworked people. They did, took care of their bodies and so forth. And they didn't believe what the naysayers said. And I just think that's, so important, being mentally tough, doing extra things and, putting extra time in and doing things the right way and listening. And I think that's, a big thing, listening to what, the negative noise and using it to feed you, to fuel you, to overcome any shortcomings you might have.
Mm-hmm. Moving on to the next one here. I'm telling you, I'm going to be bombarding you with these questions. I hope that's
no
okay.
Problem. Go right ahead.
So, remembering my goal here as I examine commonalities amongst champions, I'm curious if enjoyment is a big factor. When you were training daily, grinding day in and day out, did you find it enjoyable, or did your success require a lot of sacrifice? Did you enjoy all aspects of the sport, including the tedious or mundane? Perhaps you can give a rough estimate, like what % of your training did you find unenjoyable?
First of all, it's funny. I tell people I've never grinded a day in my life because I love it. I'm passionate about it. I'm getting ready to go to the gym again. See, the reason what keeps me shooting a ball is doing the same act over repeatedly, right? Now that can get boring. I never get bored. Why don't I get bored? I track my shots. See, if this might be the day I go in and make 1,235 free throws in a row. It might be the day I make 100 NBA threes in a row. See, I'm never bored because I have numbers. I have goals every day I go in. I also have these goals where I put time on. I got to make so many shots in 2 minutes or whatever. So I'm never bored going to the gym. I'm excited. It's a new day, and now as I'm getting older, I'm like, okay, I'm like, no, I'm going to do it as I get older. I should be getting better when I'm getting old. I'm not going to let the physical, stuff and people tell me I can't do something at my age, it's funny. Like, I don't know if you ever seen the thing, and I had worked Kobe out his first 4 years in the league, but Alan Stein, who he's written a couple books, Raise Your Game, sustain your game. And he used to be a strength and conditioning coach, and he worked Kobe Bryant Skills Academy. And, when he wanted to go watch Kobe work out, and he went there and he said to Kobe, he said, I've heard about your workouts. I'm a young coach, can I watch you work out? And Kobe goes, yeah, tomorrow at 4:30. And Alan's looking at the schedule. He goes, there's games at 4:30. Kobe says it's 4:30 in the morning. So Alan goes, how often do you get to see the greatest player in the world? Kobe's the most valuable player. He's the greatest player in the world. So Alan gets to the gym at 4:15. Kobe's in the gym already working, doing his karaoke steps, ladders. Alan gets his notebook out, gets as close to the court as he can to watch Kobe Bryant, the greatest player. He says, I can't believe I'm watching Kobe Bryant work. This is going to be some great stuff, dynamic, everything. Sits there, he's watching. Hour and 45 minutes. He didn't have one note from the workout. He said it was the most boring, mundane, monotonous workout he'd ever seen. I thought it was a third grader working out. So now this is bothering him. So at lunchtime, he goes up to Kobe. He says, Kobe, mind if I join you for lunch? Kobe goes, no, go right ahead. Can I ask you a few questions? Go right ahead. Your workout looked like a third grader. It was the most boring, mundane, monotonous thing. And Kobe smiled at him. He says, why do you think I'm the greatest player in the world? I never get bored of the basics and the fundamentals. And the thing is, people, you have to master the basics. But what happens? Once you go, and you hear it all the time, you hear coaches say, we got to go back to basics. Why did you skip the basics? See, it's like the oh, I don't need to do that. I've done it. No. And the thing is, when businesses fail and flounder, what do they say? We got to go back to the basics. The basics should be done every single day. Form shooting should be done. Villanova, when Jay Wright was there, they were one of the best shooting teams from the free throw line, one of the best three-point shooting, one of the best field. They did form shooting every day.
It's almost like brushing your teeth or taking a shower. Yeah.
Right. It's got to be a deal. And people always, what Michael Jordan used to do first thing he'd do every day he walked into the gym after he did his stretching and weight training? What do you think the first thing Michael Jordan would do? He played catch. He threw two-hand chest pass, bounce pass. Coach said, Michael, when did you learn it? He goes, well, it's one of the first things they teach you. Well, why do you do it every day? I haven't mastered it yet. So what do you think the Chicago Bulls did every day? They played catch. They passed. Travis, what'd you do last night, man? Hey, did you watch that game? Hey, what did you think? Georgia kicked butt, man. That was a terrible BCS. Well, hey, Travis, what'd you do? What'd you have for dinner? And you don't go away from the basics. And I always do this to make sure kids are paying attention to me when I'm lecturing. I said, one of my favorite all-time players, NBA history, two-time back-to-back MVP. Unfortunately, just got fired by the Brooklyn Nets. Steve Jobs, man, what a player, man. He was a 90% foul shooter, 50 from in mid-range, and they're laughing. I'm like, what's wrong? They said, you said Steve Jobs. I'm like, who the hell is he? The founder of Apple. I said, Joe, you are listening to me. I said, that's what I'm talking about. He said the hardest thing in the world to do are the simplest acts over repeatedly. Then I said my favorite point guard of all time, Italian national team, Leonardo da Vinci, right? Leonardo da Vinci said the same thing, but he said it differently. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication, but we want to make things more difficult.
Why are you saying it's the hardest thing to do? Because it's boring, or?
That's it. There you go. I mastered. Oh, I can make it from one. Okay, you made one from 1 foot. Okay, now they run out to three.
Yeah.
It's human nature.
You're inspiring me to go tomorrow and shoot 1,000 2-foot shots.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it. I think I might do it. Yeah.
But here's the thing, though, too, right? Okay, all these kids go into the gym. They want to do 50 million combo moves, right? Through the legs 72 times, behind the back, right? Are you going to do that in a game? No, Kyrie Irving's going to do that. And he's 0.001%. You have like 6 guys in the NBA with like Steph Curry, Dame Lillard, James Harden, Ja Morant. But all these, Klay Thompson, when he scored all those points, he took 11 dribbles.
Right. Even he
More
doesn't
than
do it,
likely, yeah, more than likely you're going to be a guy to catch it. Can you jab and hit a jump shot? No. I have kids that can't do 4 pivots, but they'll do 50 million things dribbling basketball.
I know why a lot of people are doing that is because they think they shoot better off the dribble, and a lot of them do, and I think it's because they're using their momentum. You know what I mean? They're using that inertia.
There's studies on everything, and especially today. The most common shot in all of basketball and highest percentage is a catch and shoot jump shot.
Yeah.
But what does everyone practice? Shooting off the dribble.
The fun
and
stuff.
then they want to, they think they're Jason Tatum, sidestep 3. You can't even make a free throw when you're shooting a sidestep 3. I was up in Boston, I don't know, it was around a couple weeks ago, and the kids tell me, he goes, I'm a real good 3-point shooter. I said, what's a real good? Tell me what a real good, in your mind, what's a real good 3-point shooter? And he goes, well, my friends tell me I'm real good. I said, well, maybe they're really bad, and they think, you're really good, but you suck. I said, so that's right. So he goes out, and he goes 5 for 25. I said, you're 5 for 25 with no defense, and I'm throwing you perfect passes. So what are you going to do in the game with defense, with the crowd and everything? I said, you're terrible. I mean, it's like people don't want to hear it. It's like, and, one of the things that I've always done, I've charted my shots since I was 16, right? Now, I haven't charted everyone because, like, naturally, when I was practicing with teams, I can't keep track of my shots in practice. When I work out by myself, I go to a gym, I track my shots. When I lecture, I give somebody my book, and they keep track of my shots. So I can tell you, year in and year out, I'm like body temperature. I finish up, like, during my lectures, I'm at 98.6%. And it's, been that way, for years. Consistency is the mark of greatness. And, like I chart player shots in the off season when I'm working with them. And even during the season when I was with the NBA teams, when I do individual workouts, I keep track of the player shots because I want to give them, look at what you shoot from this spot. This is your spot, man. Because it's, and plus it gives them confidence and you see it. So, like, I'll get, like, say, for instance, Marcus Morris, who, like, 2 years ago was, like, number 3 in the NBA in 3-point field goal percentage, right? So I'll say, if he shoots 100 threes, just spot shooting, 100 threes, he'll make between 80 and 85, right, by himself in the gym. What's he shooting a game?
Not very good, I don't think.
It's like it goes down to like 38%.
Decent, but way lower, way lower, yeah.
And same thing, Steph will shoot, anywhere between 90 and 95. And what's he shooting a game? 40%. So you almost have whatever your number is in a game, there's going to be almost like half or more breaking down in that.
Right.
And so if you're shooting you're making 6 out of 10 in practice, you're probably going to be about a 20% shooter in a game. And I understand, like, all these analytics guys go, 33% equals 50%, because if you go 2 for 6, you got to go 3 for 6 from mid-range. I said, I understand that. I understand the numbers. But you better get a 33% shooter shooting the ball. You have a 17% shooter shooting. I got to shoot 48% to get that knucklehead's percentage up, But that's all the analytic guys care about is, like, what the numbers say.
Where were we? We were about the enjoyment factor. You said you love it. Like,
yeah,
that's awesome that you found something at a young age. And I think going back to their question, like, what would you tell a young kid? I think I would tell him, like, hey, find something. Experiment, find something that you love as much as Dave Hopla loves basketball, and you will be one of the best ever at it,
Right. It's like I tell people, specific knowledge. And, and if you love something, you never work a day in your life.
Right.
If you find it something, you can get paid for it. So, but like, and like what keeps me motivated, though, is like I tell people, and people don't do it. Like, I keep track of my shots. Now I made a phone app years ago. It's out of date, but there's a app called Home Court, right? I don't know how it works because I don't understand Montana. But you go to mid court, right? You shoot a free throw. You set your phone up. Boom. It charts your whole workout. It shows you what your arc is on a shot. Tells you, gives you instant feedback, real time. What did I just shoot? Me, I got to go back and figure out. Oh, I was 500 for 506. What's my percent? But this shows you the arc of the shot depending on what part of the app you have. What level of that, and it has your whole work. It's videotaped.
Yeah.
And kids, I say to kids, how many of you have a home app? Oh, I have it. How many times I've used it 3 times. How hard is it to click on and sit? I still write stuff down in my notebook. I still have a notebook when I go to the gym.
Well, you love it, I think, a lot more than them. They only want to do the fun parts. But
Right.
I think for you, there are more fun parts.
Well, it's because I make shots, like I tell people.
It's fun.
Here's something though. Like I tell people, I said this. You talk about our mindset, right? So I go in and I'm lecturing. I says, how come I never get bored of shooting a basketball? I get to the gym early. I warm up before I do my lectures, right? I said, how come I never get bored of shooting a basketball? And people say, well, you love it. I says, I loved a lot of women, but I didn't get married till I was 46. It's fun. I said, they were fun, but I didn't marry them. I said, something, passion. So I said, the reason I don't get bored is I keep track. But I should get bored more quickly than you because I know I'm going to shoot 98.6%. You have the excitement factor. You're 0 for 13. This one might go in. You have something to be excited about because you're terrible, And like I said, what keeps me motivated is the numbers. I mean, and numbers and time now. Like I said, I go for me to improve, say out like my goal. Like 1 year I shot 99.01%. It was 2006, right, during my lectures. I said, does anyone know how hard this? Know how hard it is to get from, you know how hard it is to get from 98.6% to like 99.01? I mean, that's like you're talking 100. For me to improve, it's very difficult for me to improve. It's a lot easier to get a guy to improve, 20% on his shooting than it is right now to get me to the next level and so forth. But like I said, the numbers keep me. So now, like when I do stuff, I do a lot more stuff with time, so I'm not in the gym as much, but I have a time factor. I want to get so many makes in a certain amount of time and so forth.
I think this is one of the things that maybe your students are probably overlooking. This probably like people are going to listen to you when you say keep your elbow under the ball. Mm-hmm. They're going to listen to you when you say elbow above the eyebrow. You tell them as soon as you tell them the journal, they're like, I'm doing that woo woo meditation journaling.
Now, and the thing is, like, especially nowadays, everybody, everybody wants to be cool and all that stuff. I want to look good. And I tell people, it's not the Olympics. You're not getting any extra points for, if you shoot that ball for one leg, falling out of bounds, and you don't get any extra points for the more dribbles. This is still worth 3 outside the arc, 2 and 1 at the charity stripe. You're not getting any extra points if you dribble 72 times before you shoot it, And, unfortunately, like everybody wants the wow factor, and they would rather. You've never heard a kid say, "I want to play like Tim Duncan,"
right?
Because his game was vanilla. Boring, it was just very simple. It was boring, but it was effective. Same thing. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I mean, LeBron's going to break his record. The guy's the all-time leading scorer. Shot a skyhook. One person asked him how to shoot. It was Magic Johnson. See, the great players will add to the game. And Magic beat the Celtics with it. And in the playoffs, the one. It's like people want to do all this like crazy stuff. And I tell people they would rather have like one highlight reel than like being a 15-year NBA player that was just a role player. Like I had one dunk that went viral, instead of being consistent and stuff.
Do you, other than journaling, I guess you call it journaling, you write down your shots. Do you do like straight up journaling or other ways of self-assessment, like meditation or anything like that?
I do a lot of meditation. I used to do it when I played, and I also sometimes I'll videotape myself in the gym and I'll go back and watch, myself shooting. But for years, and I still do it to this day, like I tell people, I've already done the lecture before I've come in, especially if it's a gym that I've already been in. Like, where was it at? I was at Thomaston High School. What was it, Saturday or Sunday this past week? Now I've been at Thomaston last year. I told the kids I've already done this lecture because I was in this gym last year, and I swished every single shot. Before I can be successful at something, I have to visualize myself being successful. So I have positive thoughts all the time. Like I tell people, like I have one thought when I shoot the ball, and what is that? And everyone says, I'm going to make it. And I said, well, that's anybody. I said, mine, I'm going to swish it. It takes more concentration, laser-like focus to swish a shot than to make a shot. Anybody can make one, hits the rim, whatever. My gym in Naples, before I leave, I have to hang both nets. So in other words, I have to swish it, the net has to hang.
Okay.
So you could I might swish 5, I might make 11 and swish 5 of them, but that net didn't hang yet.
So a lot of backspin on it, huh?
Right. So it's got to be, it's got to be perfect arc for it and everything, and just, it's got to go in the right angle. And so, like, always trying to make things, more difficult. Like I said with Steph, it's got to be 45-11. Otherwise, it's not, he's actually shrinking the size of the basket, making things harder than it actually is, and not easier.
How long are your practice sessions and your rest periods?
They vary. I have certain things I do. Like I write in my book what I'm going to do, like the day before. Like I go in, I do a thing called the Hopla challenge. It's the first thing I do. And if you miss, you're out of the challenge. It's a right-hand layup, left-hand layup, then it's a floater, then it's a free throw, then it's a high school 3 at the top of the key, NBA corner 3, out to the NBA, distance 3 straight on. Then I have to reverse it. So it's 14 makes if I make them all. Once you miss, you're done. Usually the floater's the shot that most of the pros miss because your hips aren't used. You can't be shooting 20 minutes and then do the drill. It's got to be no basketball related shooting. So I get it done about 2 out every 10 times. Then I do my one hand form shooting. Then I do my balance hand form shooting. Today, what I'll do is I'm going to the gun that passes you the ball. I'll have to make 100 catch and shoot, 15 footers, and I'll do 100 high school, college, and NBA threes makes. So that's all I'm doing today. And then I finish up with a thing called 4-3-2-1. I do a thing called 4-eye shooting. Then I got to swish at least 3 in a row from the free throw line. Then I go to like I said, I got to hang both nets. And then the last thing I do is I finish with the deep 3 from the logo. But the number 4 is 4-eyed shooting, right? So what I do, once again, I got my spots and I work my way out to the NBA 3. I give myself 3 misses on this drill. So I come in, okay, I'm going to close my left eye. So when I'm going to shoot, so if my elbow's sticking out, I can't see the basket because my elbow's sticking out and I got the back of my hand and the ball in my way. When can I see my target? When my elbow's underneath the ball. So that's one eye. I got to make it. Now I close my other eye. My balance hand's in front of the ball. Hey, I got a hand in my face, coach. Yeah, it's your own hand. When can I see the target? When my hand's on the side of the basketball. So now my hand positioning's great and my vision. So I make that. That's 2. What's the name of the drill? 4-eyed shooting. Now I shoot with both eyes open. Now I close my eyes because basketball's a game of touch and feel. And I make it. Now I go back to the next spot, which would be the first hash mark. And I work my way out. Once I have 3 misses, I'm done with that drill. Then I do my 3 swishes in a row or more if I continue swishing. And then I, like I said, hang the net. And then I finish with a make from the logo.
How long does all this take? A couple hours?
No. With the gun, I'm done. I'm in and out there in probably an hour and 15 minutes. Because the gun's passing you the ball. So it's
I think I'm there too long when I go. I'm there for like 3 hours sometimes, and my back's hurting tight and
right.
Stuff,
yeah. So so when I shoot off the gun, it's like real. The ball. I'm getting a shot every 3 seconds, so
right.
it's quick. But then so tomorrow will be a movement day. So tomorrow I do a JJ Redick drill, which is, and like people understand, so JJ Redick was a great shooter. what was his workout like? I said, he doesn't do 50 million dribbles. So his workout was real. He had 7 spots, right? And he'd go mid-range, and he's got to make 20 from 7 spots. So that's 140 makes, right? Then he goes to the free throw line. He shoots 5, you know. Then he goes out and he does catch and shoot threes from the same spots, right? And then he does 5 free throws. Then he goes around the horn, 7 spots. You got to do 3 pull-up, three makes from the 7 spots from mid-range, and then out to the end, and then going the other way. So he was only doing, in his workout, he's only doing 42 makes off the dribble. And he's got 280 catch and shoots, because that was his game. He didn't do a whole lot, you know, off the dribbles, 1 or 2 dribbles, and shoot the ball. So people have to understand what their role is and what they're doing. I understand, like, you got to work on other things, but if this is what you're doing, you know, the coaches define your role, master your role, dominate your role, then you can expand it. People want to expand their role before they've even, you know, mastered their role. They're trying to be successful at 90 million things, as opposed to, and I use this as an example. My first full-time job, I was with the Toronto Raptors. We had PJ Tucker. PJ came out of Texas. You know, he thought he was going to come in the league and be like a scorer. I mean, like, hey, we had, you know, Chris Bosh, and we had a good team. So it took him a number of years to find his niche. What's his niche? I'm going to make a corner 3. I'm going to defend. I'm going to talk. I'm going to take charges, and I'm going to be a hard-nosed son of a gun, you know. And what's he done? He's won a gold medal. He got rewarded with a nice contract. And I tell people, look at, you know, everybody thinks they're going to be great scorers and everything. They're not. I mean,
Draymond Green has a similar speech.
Yes, look at him. I mean, in him, and you know, it's funny. He's lucky where he's at, though. Yeah, he's lucky who he plays for, because when those guys aren't playing, you look at his numbers. I mean, they're like, it's tough. But you know, he plays and he dominates his role. Yeah, he dominates his role. He doesn't care about scoring. Right. Cares about winning. Yeah, you know, and he's the guy you want on your team. You don't want to play against him, but you want him on your team. You know what I mean? You want him as a teammate. You don't want to play against that son of a gun, because he's tough, you know?
Okay. Next question is about kind of character. Like, for myself, well, I know there's a big emphasis on character a lot in the NBA. You know, the Spurs, I always hear them talking about that.
Right.
I've noticed that character flaws have a trickle-down effect into all aspects of my life and my game. This has made me a believer that a lot of mistakes we make in competition stem from some sort of character flaw. So if it's not a mechanics mistake, then it's some sort of character flaw: impatience, ego, immaturity, selfishness, etc. Has character development been an emphasis for you in any way? Or perhaps you've seen these negative character traits infect you, your opponents, or your students?
Well, you know, we used to say, you know, character is what you do when nobody's watching, right? Everyone can be a good guy when you're under a spotlight. What do you do when nobody's watching? And I know, like, when I'm charting my shots, and sometimes I lose track, was that 18 or 19 makes? I always say I go back to 18, because I don't want to credit myself. Maybe it was 18. I'm not going to give myself an extra make. You know, so that's something that I do. And then, like I said, you know, you talk about character traits and, you know, high quality. Like, in this day and age, you know, coaches don't want to put up with knuckleheads, you know, like says, you know, we have character, you know, we want a team of character, not a team of characters, you know. You want to eliminate, you know, any outside distractions and so forth. And what I found, like, you know, with Kobe, like, it's been a double-edged sword working with him, because he was so focused, and, you know, he was also laser-like focused. He wanted to be a great player. He was obsessed with that. Wasn't, you know, never got out of shape, you know, was always in the gym. And like he said, if you're not doing something, whether it's watching film, watching what you eat, and then you're not serious about becoming a great player. You have to discipline yourself, and that takes a lot of character. And you have to surround yourself with people, that are good people as well. I mean, if you're around a bunch of knuckleheads, you're going to end up being like knuckleheads. And what I've tried to do over the years is, as I've gotten older, I've become more grounded and more spiritual. I became a Christian. I read the Bible every day before I start my day off, which has grounded me, and given me I spend my quiet time with the good Lord. That's what I do. See, and I'm an early riser. I get up and I spend a half hour every morning, reading a good book and, getting myself right. And it sets me up for the day to try to do the right things every day, and I wasn't always that way. But, we've had, like I said, the great players are guys of great character. I mean, they're coachable, they'll listen and, and they'll go out and they're accountable. And they'll hold others accountable, the great players. Not everyone's that way. Like a lot of players, try to take shortcuts. And if they're taking shortcuts in practice, they're going to take shortcuts in the game. You can't trust them. And, the great players, like they said, Tim Duncan was never late for anything his entire career.
I feel like he might be one of the best leaders of all time.
Yeah.
I know it's hard for me to gauge as just a
Right.
fan at home on the couch, but my intuition tells me Tim Duncan is the man.
And then there's an old saying, like Jerry Sloan was talking about John Stockton, and there you go, talking about a smaller guy and all that stuff. To go back to an earlier question, and he said that in all his years of coaching, John Stockton never lost a sprint. And like when they're running suicides, right? Because and then Jerry Sloan says, no. He did lose one time. He lost. He said he had the flu, but he still ran it. He said, like now everyone sits out and everything. And the thing's like, you look at John Stockton's career. The guy only missed 30 games his whole career.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, guys now miss 30 games in a season.
I think I read something that he missed the least amount of games throughout his career out of more than any other player.
One was he hurt his knee, he just couldn't play. And we used to say this is another thing about character. You can play when you're hurt. You can't play when you're injured. There's a difference. You're in the NBA after training camp, you're hurt every day. Something, you got a jam, you got a hip pointer, you get your ankles a little tweaked or something. You're not gonna feel great every single night. And and that comes down to your character. Are you willing to fight through it? Mental toughness. Can you deal with a little bit of pain? And then the big thing is we look as coaches, when we're recruiting and everything, we want to see what is that guy like when he gets pulled out of the game. Is he vocal on the sidelines? Is he cheering his teammates on? Or does he go to the end of the bench and throw a towel over his head and sit there and mope because he's out of the game? And body language screams, and a lot of it comes down to your character and can you handle adversity? Everything's great when we're winning.
Well, I think all of these character traits, like selfishness, ego, and patience, I think they're all kind of linked to immaturity, maturity and immaturity.
A lot of it is, and a thing is, especially in basketball, these kids are coddled at such a young age. You're told how great they are, and then they find out now I'm not so great because there's only 450 jobs in the NBA, and then 120 of them are foreigners, and everyone thinks you're going to be an NBA player. And I'm like, you better have a plan B and plan C. And I'll tell you a funny story, about character and stuff. So when I was with the Knicks, Jason Kidd, Hall of Famer, and so we'd get a new player, and Jason Kidd would go over to a player, and he'd shake his hand. Hi, I'm Jason Kidd. Where do you want the ball when I pass it to you? Do you want it the shoulder? You want the chest? You want it the hip? Do you want a bounce pass or a chest pass? Do you want me to seam the ball or not? I'm like, geez, I said, Jason, you're so unselfish. And Jason goes, no, I'm selfish. I want to be the all-time assist leader. But if I get the ball how you want it, you're going to shoot it better. And it's like a win-win situation.
Yeah.
So, but it just said a lot about him as a character. Like his character, he's wanting to win. He's selfish, but it's also a selfish but an unselfish act.
Yeah.
He's trying to help you and he's also wants to get his goal, but it's also with the team. It's really threefold for all of us.
I feel like every action we take is the reason is for ourselves, but what makes someone unselfish is that when we take that action for ourselves, it affects others in a positive way.
Right, right.
It's like I like to help the homeless because it makes me feel good.
Right, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
I think one thing that people are going to overlook out of all this kind of stuff you just said is that I think this is really overlooked, is that who you hang around with is really important.
Without doubt.
Psychology. I remember I read some book it's like a psychology book, and it was saying that like primates, like monkeys and stuff, like the monkeys that hang around with the other bad monkeys will become bad monkeys. Lobsters the same way, chickens the same way, humans the same way.
I was just reading a thing the other day. It said, show me who you hang around with, and I'll tell you what your future is going to be like. Kids in high school. And I strongly believe that. I mean, and a lot of times it's really tough to get out of that environment. And you have to get rid of the bad stuff in your life. Like I'm big, like I said, positive thoughts equal positive results. And like I said, going into a gym, like I tell people, shots are made before they're taken, man.
I've always been pretty immature for my age, admittedly. I love to laugh. I'm kind of a playful guy, and it doesn't really help that I'm a teacher trying to keep the attention of little boys with poop jokes.
Right.
This immaturity has been a shortcoming of mine in competition. Many sports have a limited window of opportunity, and I think many would-be elite competitors waiting to blossom, and they're finally ready, and the window of opportunity is now closed. They're too old, or whatever. The window's gone when they're ready. The old saying, I wish I knew this when I was younger. Do you feel you were more mature than your peers, high school years, college years, etc.?
No, I thought, same thing, immature and everything. One thing that I did have, I had a love for the game and a passion for the game. And, I was on JV as a junior, which, you suck if you're on JV as a junior. It's against law, like in 32 states. But I said to myself, I had a couple of my friends that were cut, and they said, I'm not going to play JV because their egos got in the way. And I said, you know what, I'm going to play so well on JV. Coach is going to have to move me up to varsity like middle of the season. That never happened, but I stuck it out and I stayed on JV. And, I took a lot of, I guess now they'd call it bullying, abuse, whatever. But I said to myself, you know what, I love the game so much. I'm going to make it. I mean, I'm going to work hard, and I'm going to continue working hard. And I was, charting my shots, and I saw myself getting better. My confidence was growing and everything. And I stayed with it. And then by the time I was a senior, I was one of the top 15 players in Baltimore because I kept working at it. But I had like I said, my mother said I was narrow-minded, but I said I'm very focused. I had goals I wanted to achieve. So I guess I was mature in that way. I mean, and I guess it was a character trait not to give up, not to quit. Because my mother said, you're not good enough. You got to work harder. And like nowadays, a lot of times the parents enable a kid. Oh, well, we'll go to another school. We'll go to another team instead of like saying, hey, work harder. I mean, as far as maturity, my wife and daughter, they still think I'm immature. But like I said, when I go into a gym and especially as a coach, and it's hard. Like I said, I tell these guys, I said, look, why did you start playing basketball? Especially the season's 82 games. Like you're the last man on the bench. It's a long. You're not seeing much time, but your opportunity is going to come. You have to be ready for that. And like you said, your window of opportunity. Like if you don't do the extra work, and then all of a sudden your opportunity comes, you're not gonna thrive in that situation. But if you continue doing your work, you're gonna thrive when that opportunity. But we don't know when that opportunity is gonna come.
One of my
It's like,
favorite moments is it's my favorite sports thing ever is Jeremy Lin Sanity's. That was
yeah.
just incredible.
What an unbelievable! I actually when I used to do a blog on my website, that was like the greatest thing of that season was
Yeah.
Linsanity. You talk about he didn't know where he was going to be at, and but it's like you have to be ready. And
Yep.
like, so I tell the guys like when I'm working, especially like again, so I'm hyper. I have a lot of energy. I don't even drink coffee. So imagine it. You said I'm an early person. Just think if I drank coffee, what would it be like? But like I go in the gym, I have a lot of energy. And like I said to you guys, why did you start playing basketball? It was fun. I said, great. It was fun. Why did you continue playing basketball? Well, I got good at it. I said, so now the game was fun. You got good at it. Now you're making more money than ever imagined when you're miserable. I said, you can't let the fun fade. You got to keep, if games are meant to be fun, you're not supposed to be miserable. So we said, we got to, so I used to do things with guys. I mean, it was just like, get them in and like, have fun with them, even though it's practice. And like, so a lot of people say it's a grind. Grind is like grinding your teeth. It's not a pleasurable experience. If you love something, you don't love to grind your teeth, but I love basketball. And like even Kobe said, it was a love factor. It wasn't, so like I'll go in with the guys and like, I'll never forget like, pre-game when I was with the Knicks and I had Timmy Hardaway Jr. and we'd have to make so many shots. And I said, if you make so many in a row, we got a grand prize. Like it's like the price is right. And he says, what's this prize? I said, we got to make 10 in a row to find out what the prize. And he'd make 10 in a row from a spot. He says, we got a winner. We got Tim Hardaway here. He won a black and white TV from 1969. Just little things like that.
Yeah.
And like when the guy would get a perfect set, I'd be yelling, Bo Derek. Bo Derek. And they're like, who the hell's Bo Derek? I said, the movie 10, the most beautiful woman in the world. And they would
Never
Google
seen.
Bo Derek and they'd come back, wow, yeah, Bo Derek. Just little things to keep the guys, entertained as well as, but you're still getting your work in,
Mm-hmm. Okay. Was there any milestones of maturity, maybe a life event that you felt some kind of growth in your maturity? Any way to turbocharge our maturity is kind of what I'm trying to get out of you here.
when I got married and then I became even more mature when I had my daughter. I got married when I was 46 and became a dad at 48. So they were big milestones and still like I think bad dad jokes and I embarrass my daughter and so forth. But
You gotta Google some and
yeah,
really
I'm still a big kid at heart, which I think we always will be,
Okay, so
grow up.
getting married, having kids, kind of really sped up your maturity process. You think?
Right. When it's before that, like I said, I was a bachelor for 46 years and so forth, and I did whatever I wanted to do when I did it. And like I said, didn't have to make sacrifices because it was all about me. Once you get married and you want a successful marriage and stuff, you make big sacrifices.
Yeah.
When you have a kid, you even make more. You do everything for your kid. So.
Yeah, I think that's. My answer is almost the same. Like getting into a relationship. My first serious relationship with a girl from a different culture. A lot of changes and sacrifice and maturing needs to be done to make it work.
Right.
So next one is kind of about learning. I've always kind of been a poor learner. This is one of the biggest mistakes I've made while trying to grow and get better. But I never sought out coaches. I was a poor listener, and thus I developed bad habits both mentally and mechanically because of this. Do you consider yourself a good listener, learner?
It depends on the subject matter. I mean, I always tell people, one of the things I ask all the kids when I work about, I have a little questionnaire. I says, who's your favorite teacher? Who's your favorite subject? And oftentimes, a teacher, is their favorite teacher, but it's not their favorite subject. And where the kids thrive in the classroom is when the teacher and subject align.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my favorite subject's math. My favorite teacher's my math teacher. they are excited about that class. Now, when
Yeah.
it's different, okay, I like math the best, but my favorite teacher is the history teacher. Well, why is that? Well, he makes it fun. It's it's something I don't. And that's when you know you're a great teacher or a great coach, is when you can get somebody that's not interested in that subject matter to be interested in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy when I love art. I don't like art, but I love art. You're still engaged, but now like I got to go to the teacher's history. Like the guy's dressed like George Washington. You don't know. It's exciting and so forth. But when things align, then you can learn at a much higher rate and everything. And myself, like I said, because I was interested in basketball. Like I said, I watched those guys, George Lehman, Hank Slider, Herb McGee. I watched every little thing they did.
That's what
And
I
like I
did
said,
with
I
you.
didn't have the video. Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't have any video, so I had to do it all from memory. Oh, this is how their feet were. This is their hand, and I actually would write notes down, and I would seek out like at camp. I was like a pain in the ass to the coaches. Coach, what was that drill? What can I do when I go home? And one of the guys told me when I went there, he goes, if you're serious about basketball, when I went to my first camp, he goes, you need to keep track of your shots. You need to have a workout program. You need to have a practice plan. I thought I was the only kid in the world not doing those things. Turns out I was the only kid in the world doing those things.
Mm.
And I'm still doing it today. I mean, I've spoken out how many times, and I've been doing 37 years. I've seen maybe 10 notebooks from kids the next year showing me what they've done.
I told you
And,
that's the one they're missing. That's the one
yeah.
thing that they're
And the
missing.
thing is, those kids that do that, tell me how much they've improved because they charted your shots. Like I said, it's and I now tell kids say, oh yeah, I charted. I said, where's your notebook? Oh, I left it at home. I said, it doesn't exist. It's like the Dead Sea Scrolls. We're still looking for them. But it's huge. Like when I travel, I don't go anywhere without those books. They're part of me. There's like my basketball. They're going with me. I have them in my gym bag.
Is there something that you felt you learned maybe before your peers, like a secret weapon you were kind of keeping to yourself as a result of being a good learner and a listener?
No, because like I said, in the classrooms, it didn't transfer over there. Just like I said, in basketball, I loved it and had a passion for it. So I like tried to read every basketball book, every article I could. But it was only with basketball, like everything else. Like I
Did
used
you
to
get
take
good grades?
I got average grades because I took shortcuts. I mean, I was an honor roll, but anyway, yeah, I didn't do homework or anything. And I tell people I took shortcuts. I could have been a much better student if I got homework first period. I did it second period. If I got it second period, I did it third period. So I was missing the actual lesson plan because and everyone thought I was working. Yeah, well, I'm doing the homework from the thing before.
That's actually
So,
brilliant.
yeah, yeah, right. But I was an average. I mean, like I said, I got A's and B's and made honor roll, but I wasn't like high honors and stuff. And like I said, I took shortcuts, and one of the things I said, shortcuts are wrong turns. It's like if I would have applied my schoolwork to my basketball career, and I would have been, probably who knows what I'd be doing. But like, okay, yeah, no, I'm not going to do my form shooting today. Nah, no, I'm not going to do that. I'll just do shortcuts here. Instead of shooting my threes, I'll just shoot 10 of them instead of 100 makes and so forth. I'll do it tomorrow. Or I'll do it this and stuff. And I always tell people shortcuts are wrong turns.
You kind of just put all your eggs in one basket, it seems like, in basketball.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was obsessed with it and wanted to do something with it, and it worked out. It worked out for me. But like I tell people, there wasn't a lot of blood, sweat, and tears with that. I mean, a lot of sacrifices and stuff. I mean, I remember, in Baltimore, I'd shovel the courts off and so forth. Now, kids are like, oh, well, it's got to be an indoor gym and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. It's got to, everything. The air conditioning has to be set at the right temperature. I mean, they're so pampered and everything. But I worked hard, and I mean, even when I finished in high school, I didn't have a lot of offers. I went to a junior college. My first year of junior college, I break my ankle, and I played games, lost a year eligibility. I don't even think the word existed, medical red shirt back then. my second year at junior college. I make honorable mention All-American, and that could have been my freshman year if I would have just sat out the year before, and then I ended up going to a small school in Nebraska, and then I went overseas to play basketball. So if that wouldn't have happened, I would have been a phys ed teacher somewhere, and I'm sure I would have been coaching high school or something. But that's the other route that I would have been going.
Well, you kind of segues to my next question. You'd mentioned like you broke your ankle. There was shoveling snow to play on courts. There was no video back then. Those are some of the disadvantages that you experienced on your path to success. Were there any advantages? Was your dad Michael Jordan, or any other disadvantages? No. Maybe you had 11 toes. I don't know.
No, I mean, you can, like I tell people, you can make excuses. And my motto is make shots, not excuses. Like, I could say, well, my dad left when I was a little kid. I have no relationship with my dad. And I used to say, if I ever become a parent, I'm going to be the best dad possible. So, and then like I grew up in a small town in New Jersey and Keyport, and I played all three sports, baseball, basketball, football. Was okay at all of them, but then I moved to Baltimore, and I moved into the city in the 9th grade. So all I did started playing basketball, because you can go to the park and do things by yourself. It's hard to be a good football player or baseball player by yourself. But basketball, you could dribble, shoot, and so that's how I really got into into basketball. Because
me too.
When I was a little kid, baseball was my favorite sport. Willie Mays, my favorite athlete of all time, but. It was, like I said, I didn't feel like I was missing anything, because my dad split and stuff. My mother instilled the work ethic. I mean, we had certain things we had to do. We came home from school, we had to do, vacuum, set the table, peel potatoes, because she was working. So, I mean, she didn't go like on welfare or handouts. So I don't think, I had any disadvantage. I think anything, my mother, the advantage was, she disciplined us and made us do the right things and to work hard, and things will work out. I mean, I think
this is one of the commonality I've saw across the different people I've interviewing is that they usually have like a good parent, so at least a good mom or a good dad. Yeah,
sure. And she instilled that. I mean, respect your elders, say thank you, be mannerly and everything. And a lot of that I feel is missing. Like I always like the other day I was up in Connecticut, and I was doing this clinic at Mohegan Sun, and, signing some autographs, and, thank you. And I'd say to the kid, what did you just say? I said, thank you. I said, you're the first one out of 20 people. Like, just like years ago, everything was thank you, appreciate it. Now it's like everyone just thinks they're entitled to whatever, and it's just like, and I make a big deal to shout out, and I'll say, you have great parenting and stuff. Your mom and dad is whoever has raised you the right way and so forth. And I think a lot of that has gone to the wayside.
Mm-hmm. Okay, shifting gears here. Now I want to talk about clutch performance. Obviously, it helps to have someone on the team who can perform well under pressure. However, I think this is the only value of clutch for performance. I think media and our emotions have led us to an overemphasis on clutch performance. After all, 2 points in the first quarter is the same as 2 points in the fourth quarter. My brain tells me that every moment of competition is equal in value, generally speaking. But my gut tells me, no, there's something to these clutch moments where games are decided. So my question for you is specifically this. Do you think there is an overemphasis on the clutch for no coherent reason? Or is the clutch more significant in some intangible way?
Well, things are magnified naturally more in the fourth quarter. And I always say this, whenever a coach loses a game by 1 point, what's the first thing they look at? What do we shoot at the free throw line? Every coach, every level. Then it's like you look at your defense, your rebounding margin, and things like that. But it's your turnovers. But whenever you lose by a point, what do we shoot? What do we shoot at the line? They want to know. But things are magnified. I said, well, if I made the three free throws in the first quarter, we would have won and stuff. But the game changes throughout, and things are like magnified down the end, and pressure is real, and it's even real in practice situations, like when we put clocks on things, people get tense and stuff because you put a certain goal, and the same thing, you see the scoreboard, you see the time, you're thinking time and score. Well, nowadays nobody, they just throw a three up. Like the other night, Shea Gilchrist, what's his name, shoots a three from like 35 feet. It's a 1 point game. You don't need a three. Get a good shot. But that's another thing. But to go back, so the thing is, like with pressure, we do this thing. It's called don't be that guy. So say we have 5 guys I'm working out, right? And this is like pregame, early, like shoot around in the morning. Okay, we got to make 10 shots in a row. You think you got pro guys, 10 shots in a row with 5 guys is easy? It's not. Everybody's got to make at least 2 in a row to get to 10. So you'll see guys, okay, we got 7. You're making 8. That guy's 9. I'm going to be 10. Oh, my God. You see the guy, like, getting nervous and then you see the guy breathe deeply because you missed your shot. Because I didn't have to deal with that pressure. And you'll see it like, so to say we get to 9 and I'm number 10, and the guys, don't be that guy. And you see guys short arm and stuff because they're not prepared. Like now, people that have thrive in that moment, like, have worked and they put the time in. If you put the time in, you don't feel pressure. Like Kobe said, there's no pressure if you worked at something. Pressure is when you're in a situation you've not prepared for. That's what pressure is. When Ray Allen hit that corner 3, I don't know if you remember against San Antonio.
Yeah.
He said, I made that shot 10 million times in my life.
Right.
I visualized I was in that situation 10 million times. And, and it's like, yeah, I'm going to make it. It's like, no, did you think you're going to make it? No, I thought I was going to miss it. I mean, like, your thought process. But, like, here's the thing. Like I tell people, you ever shoot an air ball? Sure you have. What's your thought process on the next shot? Guess what most people tell me? I hope I don't shoot an air ball. Great, you hit the rim. You did what you accomplished. Or, I hope I don't miss. Well, what are you thinking about? Missing.
Yeah.
My thought process on every shot is I'm going to swish it. And how many times you see somebody, they miss long, what do they do on the next shot? They miss short. Or they miss left, they miss right. They make over adjustment. If you try to swish every shot, you make a slight adjustment as opposed to too much of an adjustment. Mm-hmm. The only time I ever change my target is if I shoot a bank shot, because then that's. But the center of the basket, no matter where I shoot from. But most people say, well, there's not an actual physical point. Yeah, there's all that big area. I want to put it just somewhere in there, and I have a greater chance. And I can be long, short, left, right, and still make the shot.
So I think that like you said, they're looking at rebounds. They're looking at free throws, first thing, turnovers. Yep. But I think the mistake a lot of people are making is they're stuck on that last buzzer beater. Like, oh, why did he pass it at the buzzer? Or why did he? Yeah. Everybody gets so hung up on that, but no one cares about the really stupid play that happened in the second quarter when he XYZ.
No. Yeah. There's actually a poem that a coach wrote. It's called, It's Only One Possession. And it goes through scenarios through the whole game. And at the end, he wishes they had one possession, but it was throughout the game, you threw away so many possessions. But now at the end, you wish you had the stupid ones back, but you don't have them back. So it does matter. But like I said, everything's just magnified. It comes down to the
magnified, not by like your perception of it is magnified, but it's not actually. Would you agree with that? It's just your perception that it's not actually magnified.
It's perception, but it's not only. It's the media's perception.
Right.
Like I forget who the football coach was. Like at the end, he's like, write your story now. Like before the guy kicks the field goal, write your story now.
Okay.
Right. Like, oh, he should have went for the touchdown when it was 4th and 1 instead of going for the field. You know what I mean? Like early in the first quarter. Everyone. That's the great thing about the media. I mean, or the negative, depending on which side of the fence you're on. They can write their narrative however they want.
Mm-hmm.
Like, write this down. People second guess like that game when Chris Bosh rebounded and threw it out to Ray Allen. Craig Popovich, what did he do at the free throw line? He took Tim Duncan out of the game at that point. Right. You don't think he's like having nightmares about that to this day?
Yeah.
Yes, it's like, yeah, it's easy. I should, but that's the thing, and it's
hindsight's 2020.
Yeah, no, it's things are like, and people get nervous with time. When you set goals, people get nervous with the numbers, and the mind is such a powerful thing. Like I said, that's why if you haven't prepared for something, you're uncomfortable in that situation. And I always tell people, if you make one shot in a row, you can make 1,000 in a row. You just got to repeat that one shot 1,000 different times. But we think about numbers, it happens all the time. Okay, we got to get, you get a guy a real good shooter. Okay, you get 25 in a row. Gets to 24. Okay, this is it. Boom. The number.
The negative thought creeps into your mind.
Sure, exactly.
And it's the power of suggestion, psychologically.
Yeah.
I mean, if I remember this test, if you hold a stopwatch, and you just think about it moving left to right, it'll start to move left to right.
Yeah.
This is just psychology 101 right there.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Okay, next we're going to move on to emotions. When I started playing poker and athleticism was taken out of the equation, I started to realize how much emotions influenced every decision I would make at the poker table. Decisions based on emotion as opposed to logic and expected value. And furthermore, I mean, decisions based on emotion are predictable by your opponent if he can read your emotional state well. This has become a big emphasis in the poker community to the point where the game completely evolved over the last few years. According to psychology and neurology, how can I put this? Humans are simplified by emotions and reduced to a more infantile state, a primordial brain. All that being said, has controlling your emotions been a focal point of emphasis for you?
I don't really think about it, but it is very important if you're going to perform at a high level. Some guys get too high, too low. When a guy makes a mistake, we always say body language screams, right? And there's very few players that can actually improve when they get pissed off. Scott Skiles was one. I don't know if you remember him. He played at Michigan State, but he was real fiery. And if you pissed him off, his game went to another level. Where so many other guys, they get so tense and frustrated, and emotions are very, they're like a time bomb. He's we always say he's an emotional, time bomb waiting to explode, and it's going to happen. But what's going to set him off? And you look at players, they let their emotions get the better of them, and even coaches as well. They get too emotional, get a technical foul at a crucial time. They played, oh, what do you mean that was a foul? It didn't go my way. Hey, it's crucial. Once again, going back, when did this happen? It happened late in the game. Oh, well, you can't control. You got to learn to control your emotions, and you can't let a bad call piss you off or a mistake. And so many players make a mistake, and then I'm going to make up for it. They make another mistake. Yep. It's just you have to keep your and think next play, which is very hard to do, and it comes with experience. And so many teams, when I was with the Knicks and with the Pistons, we actually had mental performance coaches to get people to control their emotions, to stay in the moment, not get all. You're not going to get every call, and it's amazing. NBA, every time there's a foul, everyone, what do you mean? Nobody ever fouled in the NBA. If you ever notice that when a foul's called, or
it's annoying.
Nobody, and everybody wants, whenever something happens, they want to review. If I tip the ball, hey, review that. They want everything. It's just, but like I said, my emotions. Like I said, I tried. if I miss a shot, I just like, next shot, I'm going to switch the next one. I just don't get myself all worked up about it. It's, it's something you've done over and over again and stuff. But like, when I played, I was an emotional player, like, talk trash. I was from Baltimore, being the only white kid, and so I learned, the trash talking game and stuff. But
Really?
I would play the game like when I played overseas. I would play very, emotion, but the crowd can get you going as well. Like you talk about the crowd getting all fired up and everything, and they can make you, energize you and so forth, with their energy and so forth. But I try to keep my emotions intact now. When especially like on the court, like now I'm shooting a ball, so I don't have any like really get me mad now. But
Right.
like I could get mad at when I played and so forth. But like the best players, like Tim Duncan was emotionless.
Yeah.
I look back, like even like with football, like going back, Earl Campbell, when he scored a touchdown, he used to hand the ball to the official, the referee. He didn't like spike it. He's like, just act like you've been there before and so forth. So,
Do you think that there's any place for emotions in competition?
yeah. I think some people, play off of that and thrive off of it.
I think maybe the ones that are on a really low arousal
Yeah,
level, when they
yeah,
get mad, they're trying. Before they weren't really
right.
trying. But
Yeah.
outside of that,
I mean, you see a lot of like, especially like I like to watch the like tennis. You see a lot of emotions on the tennis court. And Tiger Woods with the fist pump and everything. Emotions. But the thing is, like you got positive and then you have negative emotions
yeah,
too. When things don't go well, you see some people like collapse, like they just let that one bad play, that one bad shot, they go the opposite way and so forth. It's like once again, like that's when your character's revealed. Like
hmm
when everything's going great, oh, we're great teammate. Oh man, everything's going great, Travis. You the man, you and I, nobody can stop us. Things go bad, now we start pointing fingers at one
yeah.
another. And that's when your character's revealed. How do you handle adversity?
So
And
do you think positive emotions are okay then?
yeah, I do. I mean, positive emotions, and then being positive with your teammates. Like hey, great pass. Hey, I couldn't have made that shot without your screen and everything. And then what do you? Hey, I'll set screens for you. I mean, and it's like everybody, like I said, everybody wants R&R. And it's not rest and relaxation. It's rewards and recognition. You
But
know.
would you agree that most negative emotions are probably not good to let in, right?
No, I think if you're doing negative emotions, anything like they should be done behind closed doors.
Right.
With talking with the team. And like we screwed that one up, not out in public and everything. But now, like I tell everyone, just assume everything's being videotaped and recorded in this day and age.
hmm
And the other night, negative emotions. What's his name? Deadman, like smacked the freaking massage gun out, like after the game, and he's probably gonna get suspended a couple, 2 games or 3 games for that, just because he was pissed off at the coach. I don't know what led to it, but and his emotions ran over. He did something stupid. Now he's going to lose, 3 games pay and everything because his emotions couldn't handle his emotions at that time.
Next, moving on to like routines and lifestyle. Some of my most successful runs in poker have been when I've had daily routines, when I've been rooted in my house. I've lived in that same house for a while. I lived alone in isolation, often in my room by myself playing poker. For yourself, what has been your experience with those, your daily routines, your living situations that had an impact on your success?
Well, I tell people, you talk about routines, and I say it all the time. Consistency is the mark of greatness. How are you going to be great at something if you do it once every week? I've had some problems with my ankle, and I went to a foot specialist. He gave me exercises to do, and guess what? He told me do figure eights. I do figure eights and I do reverse figure eights. He told me to do the alphabet. I do upper and lower case. I go back to him after a week. He goes, "My goodness, you've done a great job." I said, "Yeah, I did what you told me to do, and I did extra." Most people go to a specialist. Okay, well, I'm going to see a specialist once a week. Guess how many times they do the exercise? Once a week. It's like shooting a basketball. You want to be great. I tell you, you got to do this, and that. And I work with Dave Hopla for an hour every week. Well, yeah. What do you do the other? Well, I work with Dave Hopla an hour. Not that nobody's that great of a doctor or teacher where 1 hour out of 7 days a week is going to make you better. So it's like you have to have a routine. And like I said, I don't shoot every day, but every day that I shoot, I do my form shooting.
Outside of
go out
of basketball, I'm also interested in like just other, maybe just lifestyle, like waking up at the same time, that kind of thing.
I wake up every morning, and I got them right here. Well, this is why I said 6:30. Okay, I read the Bible. I write a little note to my daughter every day. I got my little book here. I write a little something about what's happening in my life, her life. And besides the Bible, I do my daily wisdom for men. I spend a half hour every day, quiet time with the good Lord. And that's really focused, helped me, prepared for whatever comes my way during the day.
I think that it's probably a good practice, just having those routines. I wish I had the discipline. I need to have that more discipline to do, just wake up early and have good routines. Back to what you were saying earlier about, I train with Dave Hopla an hour a day, but that's it. Like a lot of people, I forgot where I read it, but they'll like go to the doctor and like something like 60% of people don't even take the medication that they're prescribed. Some crazy high number.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah. Next is confidence. Every great shooter says how important confidence is. What is it about confidence that is so important in shooting?
Well, it's a belief in yourself, and how do you get that belief is from, once again, going back, and performing in the practice situation. And like I said, my confidence grew from when I first started out, okay, I can't make this much in a row. I can't make this much in a row. And confidence is a funny thing. And I'll use Brendan Haywood as an example. When I was with the Washington Wizards, like I said to him, you're going to shoot 75% from the foul line this year. He's like, but he was already fighting with me. He's a 51% shooter. I says, I need you to trust me and believe in me, right? And I need you to try to forget everything else you've ever done. If you fail, I fail. And we did these drills, and it was funny. We were doing drills. I said, okay, you're going to make so many from each spot. And this was like mid-range, only like 10 to 12 feet because he's a 7-footer. So we're doing it, and I'm charting my shots. I said, okay, now we got to make today we got to make 5 in a row. Now, he doesn't realize he's already been making 5 in a row because we had to make 7 out of 10 or whatever the number was. Well, I said, boom, all of a sudden his confidence grew because now I had it written down. I showed him what he did day in and day out. Whereas before, nobody ever, we made 7 out of 10. Well, guess what? You made 7 in a row at that spot. Yeah. Nobody ever did that. It was just like numbers. Okay, whereas before maybe you got to make 10 from this spot. Okay, maybe he was 10 for 25. Now he's 10, but he made 7 in a row out of the 10 and so forth. Nobody ever broke it down that way. So his confidence grew because it was, it was documented. So then he became, and he got so confident. He was calling himself Captain Mid-Range and everything. You see how he blossomed after being in the league for a number of years.
This is Gordon Hayward?
No, Brendan Haywood. When I was with the Washington Wizards, he was a 7-footer. Okay. Played at North Carolina. So, yeah.
Do you think confidence from other aspects of life can bleed into shooting the basketball?
Oh, without a doubt. I
Yeah.
mean, most players that are confident on the court, they're confident off the court with, the fashion that they wear. Some I wouldn't be caught dead. And you got to be confident to wear some of the outfits.
Skirt.
Yeah, Russell Westbrook, right? Hey, he's a confident shooter. He still shoots it, right? So,
Why do you think some people are naturally awful at aiming and others are naturally good? Do you think this has to do with confidence?
You know what? I think just a lot of it's, makeup. Like, some people are good at one thing and others aren't. And, and then same thing, like, mindset. Some people can focus and others can't. And it's, we're all different. That's what makes this world so interesting,
Next is visualization. You talked a little bit about short-term visualization, so we don't need to cover that. Like, you talked about what goes through your mind as you're shooting the ball, maybe just seconds before you shoot the ball. What about like long-term visualization? I'll define that as the day, maybe a few days before competition or longer. Like as you're laying in bed at night, are you shooting hoops in your head and you lay in bed at night?
No. When I try to do over the years, like when I leave the gym, I leave everything at the gym.
Really?
Yeah. It's like even with a loss, I just like, okay, it's at the gym. And I learned that when I got married and so forth. Like, and like I used to tell people, there's how many billions of people in this world, and 99.9% of them don't care that we won or lost the basketball game. It's like, so I learned to like leave. Like when I was in high school, if we lost the game, I would go right home. I wouldn't talk to anybody. I wouldn't go out to dinner. I would be miserable. And when I was over, even playing professionally over in Ireland, when we lost, I'd be all pissed off. And we'd be on the road in Dublin, and I'd be sitting out in the car, and other guys would be in the pub with the other team drinking. And I'm finally saying to myself, I said, what am I, freaking goof sitting in here? I've played as hard as I could. So I came up with a saying, win or lose, we booze, But I was being selfish because I was a professional. All the other players, those guys were working all week long, the Irish players, and they wouldn't drink all week long. And it's like, weekend, what do you do on the weekends? You have a few drinks. But I wasn't looking at it like that. I was just looking at like, man, we lost, and I can't believe those guys are drinking. And I'm like, they're my age. They're working a full-time job. This is their enjoyment.
I'm still with you. I think you should stand by your actions. I think you were okay to not be drinking on the weekends. I think that's fine too.
Yeah. Well, I came up and I should have copyrighted it because they got the T-shirts still over there. Win or lose, we booze. So, but it was a great time over there.
I'm surprised to hear you say you're not visualizing as you lay in bed at night, but actually the other guy, the darts guy interviewed, said the same thing. Like he would just let it go. Like as soon as he was done practicing or a tournament was over, he would just completely forget about it. Yeah.
You can, like I said, you need. I always tell people you need balance, and you have to have that laser-like focus when you're performing your task. But like I said, before I go to the gym, I visualize myself getting my workout in. But once it's over with, it's boom. I'll reset button tomorrow.
We're on the home stretch here, Dave. Next is micro edges, and these are things I've had a heavy emphasis on in poker because the edges can be so small in poker. I'll define micro edges as, for example, there was a cycling team. They were so detailed with their bikes, they would even paint the bikes white so that they can see dust on the bike better. For myself in poker, I would have a very ergonomic setup for long hours at the computer. Are there any micro edges that you look for in your games?
I don't. I mean, some players do. I mean, like they wear the same sneaker they won't change their shoes when things are going well. Some players, like going back in the old days, like the rims, now they got the breakaway rims. But back in the old days, the rims would be really, really tight. They weren't breakaways. some of the guys would go there to like to shoot around in the morning, like say they were in Cleveland, and they would go in and they have the trainer would have a socket wrench and they would loosen the rim a little bit so it would have a little bit of play and so forth. Some guys like short nets, some don't like, long nets. I mean, a lot of little things like that players like get freaked out about and so forth. I myself, one of the things I like a ball. I'm like Tom Brady to deflate. I don't like a ball with a whole lot of air in it. Like, in the NBA, what they do is they take a basketball, the referee holds it up over here, and the ball can bounce anywhere from when they drop it, anywhere from your waist, your hip to your elbow. And like in
Is
Utah,
it that big of a spectrum? It could bounce anywhere.
Yeah, anywhere within that. And I like it to bounce right to my hip.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was taught too.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it's funny, like in Utah and Denver, especially with the altitude, those balls always seem to be long rebounds and a higher bounce with it and so forth. And, another thing is too, I don't like shooting with, I call them toy balls, all of these synthetic leather. I like the NBA basketball, but that's what I've been shooting with for years. So, and like I can't stand the FIBA ball with the white lines and all of that stuff. So,
yeah, me too.
Yeah, funny things like when I do my lectures, I always ask for a great passer because great passes lead. And the thing is, I like a left-handed passer because a left-hander is going to throw the ball to my right side.
Really?
A right-hander is going to have a tendency to throw the ball on my left side because he's facing me. He's going to throw the ball where his strong hand.
Oh, yeah. Because like
see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, they're like little things, like when I do my
micro edge for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I imagine you did some world records where I'm sure there was a lot of micro edges to go into little small details to be a little bit faster, right?
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Like when I did the free throws, the first one I did, I had a 6'1" guy, and I did 26 one ball, one passer, 1 minute free throws, and then a week later I was in Denver. I had a 6'7" point guard, so I got 27 because 6'1", you talk, and then you're looking at like the net. Is the net loose? Because if the net's tight, the ball stays a little bit
he was retrieving the ball faster.
Right, so he's 6 inches taller, so that I got one more shot up in a minute. So that's really
that's cool.
Yeah. So hey, I just got to grab a plug because my thing's going to go dead here. 1 second. Hold on 1 second.
Take your time.
Yeah. I'm good. Good.
Okay.
Yeah, I just had to plug that in there.
Is there any commonalities that you have observed amongst champions? Anything like, man, I got to start doing that, or
it's funny. I still like, always trying to learn and everything, and at my level, it's like. I read a lot. I do a lot of motivational corporate speaking. I do a talk called Shooting for Success where I actually shoot the basketball. But a couple of years ago, we had the world's best pickleball player come here, Benjamin Johns, and his brothers ranked 7th in the world. So they were doing a thing down the road, and the event was going to be at 5:30, right? So I said to my wife and daughter, I'm going up at 4:30. They look at my wife's like, what do you, it's at 5:30. I said, I want to see what the greatest guy in the world does before he performs. So I go up there and like, he's there with his brother and they're like, what are you doing? So we're talking. I said, I shoot basketballs. And I like say, how did you get involved? And, you're young. Pickleball's like an older thing. He goes, well, my brother and I, we were professional tennis players ranked like 50,000th in the world, like professional, quote, unquote. And he said we started playing the game, and now he's got, Franklin sponsorship. Guy's the number one player. He wins the singles. Him and his brother win the doubles. He wins the mixed doubles. And, I got an opportunity to talk to him about, how it, what does he do? And like I said, routine, once again, visualization, not just what you see on the court. A lot of people see, like I always like to quote, like Muhammad Ali says, the fight was won long before I entered the ring. What did you do? You know if you're ready for the moment or not. And preparation is key, and people don't see that, like, what you're doing. Why is this guy so special? And even in the NBA, like, a lot of people would understand, like, so, well, Carmelo didn't come out and shoot before the game. Well, guess what? He spent an hour after shoot around working, because he doesn't want to be out with people, yelling and screaming. They want to get rid of that outside noise. So they did an extra hour work before the game, earlier in the day. And preparation is the key, I believe, mentally and physically. And that's why you're ready for the moment, because you have visualized yourself performing at that moment. You've also performed that task through practice, through repetition and practice over and over repeatedly.
So if I can repackage kind of what you just said, like, it's almost like when people say hard work, usually the word work is reserved for things you don't want to do.
Yeah.
But I think you can also say just hard work in kind of all these different categories we're kind of talking about today. Just like, just really dedicating yourself. I guess dedication would be the word. Yeah.
Right. Like, wanting to improve, like I said, Kobe, so much, like with him, like when I worked him out, I said to Arn, tell him his age, and I said, he's not ready for the NBA. People think like he came in and set the league on fire. He's 2.5 years, the guy who came off the bench, shot 4 air balls his rookie year in the Western Conference Finals. But like Kobe, what made him so special and different was his laser-like focus, his attention to detail. And we had just a little simple thing we would do, like, jab. I want you to jab with the left foot jump shot, right? And I'd say, okay, we're going to make 20 from this spot, right? And he'd make his 20, and he goes, Coach, they all didn't feel right. I want to keep going until they all. And he might make 50, all right? Now we go to the next spot. I'd say, okay, Kobe, on this one here, I want a shot fake and a shot. Okay, we're going to make 20. Kobe felt, Coach, can we go back to the left jab? I want to make sure it still feels like it did. So I said, okay. So we go back. Boom, he makes another 20. Boom, now we go to the next spot. Okay, on this one here, I want a right foot jab and a shot fake. Boom, make 20. Hey, I want to go back to the left foot jab again.
Yeah.
See, he wanted to make sure that everything, I mean, most people,
not satisfied.
They want to get the workout over it and get out of there. He was like, I want to go back. So the next day, first day thing after we did it, hey, I want to go back, do the left foot jab to make sure it still felt like it did yesterday.
Well, it's probably one mistake he keeps making or something. Like, I know one of myself, I'll get stubborn like that, and it's because there's something that I can't get rid of, like that follow through. That's why I'm spending 4 hours at the gym every day. My back hurts right now. So I can't fix that damn follow through. Well, who would you want to interview, and what would you ask them?
Who would I like to interview?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if I could, you talking sports world or just anybody?
Sure, anybody.
I would like to interview Jesus. That would be number one. I mean, that would be number one on the list. Number two, I would like to interview. Probably, let's see, number two on my list. Probably be Willie Mays, because he's my favorite athlete of all time. And then after that, I'd like to sit down, and I would like to talk to actually a bunch of people, because I've always thought of doing this. If I could get like Steph Curry, Ray Allen, Klay Thompson, Ellen Deladone, great shooters, and just their mindsets and like what they, like I said, what do they all have in common? What separates them? Why are they at the top of their game as opposed to everyone else, and so forth, Yeah. And, I always, ask people, what do they do? Like when I get a new client and so forth, I have like 15 questions I ask them, like, and like what I think the most important component is of shooting a basketball and so forth. What's their target? What's their routine and everything? Who do they think their game is similar to, and so forth? And what their goals. So it's interesting to get that feedback and so forth. But that would be it.
What do you think has been the greatest moment of your career? Can you kind of recreate that moment for us and get us motivated here?
Greatest moment of my career was when the first time I had my first perfect lecture, where I was in Italy and I was doing a thing for Nike, and I had plenty of lectures where I missed one shot, I was like $399 for 400, and I was in Italy with Nike, and I had a perfect lecture. And since I've had that perfect lecture, I've gone on to have 258 more of them. So I've had 259 perfect lectures now. I almost had a back-to-back perfect lecture.
That's got to be awesome, man.
Oh, I was like,
it's so impressing everybody. You didn't miss one time.
But it's funny. And years ago, it's funny. Gilbert Arenas, Agent Zero, and I actually ended up coaching him. But I've known Gilbert since he was 14, and he saw me at a camp. And Gilbert's a little bit of a jokester, and he goes, this shooting guy. He was like one of the first athletes that blogged on a website when blogs were big. And he goes, the man who made me not interested in dunking anymore. And he's talking about when he saw me at camp. He goes, I'm just waiting for this shooting guy to miss so I can hack him. He goes, the guy didn't miss, though. He goes, I couldn't. He goes, and then at the end of his lecture, he put a hat on, and the hat had a hand in his face. And he says, I'm going to play Beat the Pro. And he says, I'm going to get 1 point for a make, and Reggie Miller's going to get 3 if I miss. He's going to shoot from threes. He said he won 21-0. He goes, so I went home and I made a hat, and he goes, the pro beat me 21-0. He goes, I couldn't even see the basket. And it was like just a big, at the time was a huge thing. And
I like Gilbert Arenas.
I do too. He's got you ever listen to his podcast?
Yeah, that's why I started liking him. Yeah.
Oh yeah. He's a character, and we had it's unfortunate he had a lot of injuries. His career was cut short, but he was, he was unstoppable when he was healthy.
Any book recommendations for us?
I'm a big reader. I mean, I've read so many different books and stuff. I'm actually, I just finished reading Bono's book right now from U2. So I try to read a bunch of different books, but I was big on reading, the inner game of golf and the inner game of tennis, because at the time there was like no mental basketball books for basketball. So the inner game of golf, inner game of tennis, I read. Now there's quite a few, the mental athlete and so forth. So I read them, but I try to read, like I said, all different books. Right now I'm getting ready to read Charles Barkley's book, so that should be an entertaining book and so forth. But before I read the Bono book there, I read that on vacation. My wife and daughter and I, we went to the Cayman Islands over Christmas. So I got Barkley's book, but the book I read before that was it was a book about networking, for businesses and so forth. So I try to, be diversified in what I read and so forth. Wow. But I read more basketball books than anything else, but try to stay a little well-rounded.
Well, I hope this interview was a good investment for you. I'm trying to get better in video editing and just speaking and stuff. So hopefully this will pay off for you down the road.
Well, I enjoyed it. I appreciate you thinking of me and having me on. Yeah. And stay in touch. Anything I can do, feel free to give me a call.
Thank you so much, Dave.
Thank you, Travis. You have a great day.
You too.
All right. Take care. All the best. Bye-bye.
Bye.